Hello, I'm Jaco from DWR, and today I'm here with Johan Ferreira and Murray Lubbe, both exceptional engineers and technicians and designers in our country, and we would love to sit down with them, have a little discussion, and hear some of the interesting stories from their life, and inspire us to follow in similar footsteps.
Dankie.
Hore Jaco.
I think a good question, maybe just to start off with, is who are you at home?
After you.
At home, I'm exactly the same person as I am at work. So we just made a joke before we started, and I said, for fun, I just work on a different show. It's amazing when your hobby is your job. So that's for my lekker.
Same with me. I have a wife and 2 kids, almost 3.
Oh yeah?
Kids.
When's the next one?
Due in, I don't know when this is going out, but he's due in 3 weeks, which is quite exciting. So that is my downtime or off time outside of work. But work is predominantly what I do.
And then, you guys go back quite a while back. Where did it start? When did you guys meet? How did it evolve? Have you guys always been good friends, or is there a story to it?
We met when I was 15, and Johan was 45 at that stage. No, Johan was just
back
out
in
of
the
school.
70s.
Yes, and he actually came to do our school concerts lighting. And that's where we met. My dad used to do the sound for that show in Nelspruit.
Okay.
And Johan came in to do the lighting. And yes, after that we became friends and we started working together on small little things and whatever for the next 3 years. When I got out of school, I opened a recording studio in Nelspruit. And I phoned Johan and I said, listen, but this is now a recipe for some form of working together, because I've always been... My things are it's actually dual careers. One in the kind of live side of things and my studio production side of things. And Johan said, fine, let's do it. You were in Potch at that stage.
Yeah, I was still living in Potch at that stage. We obviously after the first show, I continued to do the school show. Ironically, I'm still doing that show 24 years later. Exactly same thing. I was still in Potch, and then the school I came from, they wanted to go to Nelspruit for a recording for that year's musical.
Ah, yes.
And Murray said, yeah, well, obviously you're coming with them, so let's do the recording and let's chat a bit of business and let's see where things can go from there. Mm-hmm. And I stayed.
Yeah.
I think I stayed in Nelspruit for the next 4 years before we moved to Pretoria.
Yes, 100%. The nice thing is our Johan's thing in the industry started with school productions, and at that stage, every school show used to be kind of revue style, Alibama review. What do you call it? Review exactly. Or review or whatever. So that had a component of pre-recording everything music-wise, and then they booked a choreographer to come and do the dancing and the whatever, put the show together, and then the technical element of it. So we just kind of naturally started selling that as a package deal to schools all over the country. I think we did 25 schools in total at some point.
Yeah, at some point.
Some of which obviously only did a show every second year or every third year, whatever. But a lot of them actually did it annually. So it quickly became a quite... Well, that's the only thing we actually did, apart from my studio work here and there, which was a great learning curve for us. And in hindsight, because at that stage we were both in our early 20s, and we thought we knew everything. We did. No, we didn't.
Yeah. I wish I still knew everything.
Yeah.
The older you get, the more you
The
realize
less you know.
you don't know everything, which is fantastic. I wish that could happen at 18. Yeah, and the amazing thing of learning on those shows is some were very easy and straightforward, and we had recording happening and we had technical for the show week, but some of the shows were on school level quite big musicals, where we suddenly had the get the experience of, okay, there's now 24 headsets and there's now a live band and there's a completely different thing to the designs. Initially, the average school show used to be 24 bar cans, 6 Victory scanners, and
O1V.
Probably maybe a handheld for a voiceover, and a small little PA. That used to be the average almost every show. And then when it came to the musicals, it became a different question. We were throwing ourselves into the deep end with that.
That's actually something that I wanted to mention. The funny thing in hindsight is, I don't know if it's reckless, or it is definitely reckless in some sense, or just a good thing. But we kept throwing ourselves in the deepest of deep ends. I saw the other day MGG Productions are 25 years old now. For 24 of those 25 years, we've been clients and we've been hiring from them and various other companies, obviously. But I remember Mark, Johan phone him up and say, we've got a show, and he would bring the gear with initially that red Venture he had, or one of the Vitos or whatever. And we never had money to book. Well, we didn't think we needed crew. So it was always dry hires, and we rigged the stuff ourselves.
And even when it became bigger shows and things, we were still, no, it's only a dry hire, and Mark will come through and he will drop gear, and we would sit there and sometimes having new ideas and going, okay, but I've never seen this before. I've never worked with this before. I remember sitting with the Avalite's Pearl 2004 and sitting with the manual before the show and reading, okay, that's how you save a cue. Okay, cool. This is what you do. Program.
The nice thing is, the first time I worked with some sort of a line array PA was on one of those shows in a theatre that actually didn't allow for any form of hanging or sorting anything out. There was a full-on ceiling in, and we convinced the school that we're going to cut a hole as big as this in their ceiling to put cables through. And there were no motors. It was all the hand chain hoists. And we quickly realized that now above the ceiling you have a meter or two from the bar where we hung it. And had to kind of pull the chain back into the little bag, and just like that. Took us a whole night through the night to hang 2 sets of VRX JBL PA. But that's the way you learn. And then we realized the cable runs aren't long enough, so we need to take the entire amp rack into the ceiling.
And after getting it up and taking a day, Murray didn't like the angles. And we dropped it again.
Yeah. I remember how excited, yes, we're getting carried away now. I remember how excited Johan was the first time he could get his hands on 2 Mac 250 pluses.
Yeah.
That was a game changer for him.
That was, and it was, a lot of things goes back to Nelspruit. Because that was also on Murray's old school show. Where for the first time I had not have the 4 scanners that's in the venue. I had 2 Mac 250s, and that was massive.
That's awesome.
And so those were a lot of the smaller shows. Where would you say was the first show that you considered as a big show that you guys worked on together?
Innibos.
Did we do those first bound of culprits before Innibos?
We did,
I think.
Yes. There was a specific client in Nelspruit actually who did a bunch of, I don't know how they landed it, but it was a bunch of massive corporates for government and a few other things in Nelspruit, and it was for 1,000 odd people every time, and we landed them as a client. So I think that's actually probably the first time that we had a team from MGG
That's
come
the
through.
first time we had a crew.
Built the stage.
in
It was I remember it was a white laminated stage, and in a tent though, but with a floor and air cons and draping and whatever. We felt very grand.
I think that was that's definitely the first very, bigger show. It was different as well because it wasn't a focused on entertainment show. It was now the corporate thing.
You're still very much hands-on with the setup, or you just sort of further back?
Yes, absolutely. No, we were.
I even had rigging gloves back then.
Yeah. And
They weren't
black.
Yes, my gloves are very white now.
and then when you guys got white gloves, how was that transition? How was it from being hands-on to letting go and trusting somebody else to do it the way you would have done it?
I just think that other people and crew on shows know way more than we do, I think, of their departments, because all of a sudden it's lighting guys and sound guys and navy guys and whatever. Back then we needed to figure out, I mean, there was one show that I actually rigged lighting while Johan was in London for something else. And I had no clue whatsoever what to do and how to do it.
It was the last time Murray rigged any form of lights.
Yes.
The industry is safe. For me, that thing was a very long journey. I always say that when I got to 15 years in the industry, that's when I decided my strong suit is designing, and I will call myself a lighting designer, and I will, spend much more time on pre-production for shows. And I think with that, the transition became automatic because pre-production made you sit for weeks, months, a year, whatever, on a production. And then going to a show, it was implementing and making sure everything works and actually programming or running a show. So it was a massive transition from doing everything and rigging everything and packing trucks and going to, okay, cool, this is...
Oh, yeah.
I think you get older as well and you know you need to specialize in something.
It's also a thing of, the bigger the production or the responsibility gets, the less you should try and do everything yourself. And it's not a fact of, hey, we're going to sit and watch you guys do what you do. We just do what we do now, and it's in this scale of the shows and productions we work on has hundreds of people, each having to do their little section. So that makes complete sense.
I think everybody's got their gigs they really look out for or excited to work on. What would you say are the gigs that you guys do yearly that you like, that's the highlight of my year?
It's difficult to single one out. We have a very special relationship with Innibos. I actually want to get back to that. My dad started the festival in 2004.
2004.
Yes, this year is the 21st year. And we've been a part of that or in some or other way involved since the beginning. And that's a very special show for us yearly. It's kind of going home or going back to basics. And every now and again we try new things. And we, over the years, obviously we've started small, but at the moment we put the entire technical and shows and everything together of the main stage for 3 nights, which is a very special show. For me, that's the one. Obviously, there's a bunch of others that's bigger and better and more advanced and whatever, but that's a...
Yeah, that's exactly my answer as well. And I think Innibos was the first, let's call it a commercial big event that we did where we had creative input. And it became not just a thing of, okay, there's a stage design and there's a lighting design and, okay, that's going to be audio on the day. It became being part of every little step for that production. For that.
And the interesting thing is, it's always been a festival, but it's not festival style. Nothing about it is festival style. Everything is done in pre-production between us and in the studio here. It's not a fact of a band arriving on the day. We had their rider and they plug in their track and their whatever, and we just go through it. Everything is put together beforehand as a production without any rehearsal time. We do a sound check on the day, but when I press play on a submix track, if there's a music video or pre-designed AV or whatever, it runs in sync and it's from Watch Out and it's properly designed.
Making chaos seem calm and without their time on stage and making it look like it's a real show.
Yeah, the other nice thing is the 2 of the 3 nights is still kind of one band after the other, and we literally just do one song with a changeover artist or backtrack artist or whatever to allow the crew 5 minutes to swap bands over, and it still feels like a seamless show to the audience. There's no, now we're going to sit for half an hour and play background music kind of thing.
And that sort of kind of leads into the next question of how has gear changed over the last close to 30 years that you guys have been involved in the industry. How would you say it's changed over the time? What was the challenges in the past and what are the challenges now? And
I'd like to firstly say, and you're going to say the same thing. Back in the day, if something went wrong, you lose one mic or one speaker or one whatever. With digital, it's not that. It's if something goes wrong, you lose an entire thing. Or
stopping the show
or everything, yeah.
One IP conflict.
Yes, exactly.
And would you say it's a good thing? Do you think that the industry's moved technically in the right direction, or would you want it to go back to how it was?
That definitely solves a lot of other problems. I mean, things that would be impossible now. Imagine the channel count you have on an analog console with outboard gear.
I remember the first time I used the 16-channel analog console, and it felt massive. I thought, who ever uses more than this? And that's totally ridiculous. I wouldn't be able to do a show now on 10 times that. And, so I think technology, in a way, dictates what you can do with creative. And that's the beauty for me, being part of the creative side of concerts as well, is I can very easily now say, hey, we can give that a try, because if we implement this and this and this, technically we can make this work. So, and it happens every year. There's new things coming out and new things you can implement and keep the show growing.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, now for some of the school shows, we the bases used to be 24 bar cans and 6 Victory scanners, and those scanners are still in Mark's warehouse somewhere. Probably those bar cans as well. To what it is now, and 6, 7, 800 counts of intelligent fixtures on productions. It grew massively.
What keeps you going? Why do you keep on doing what you're doing?
I think the fact that nothing we do is ever the same. You have to reinvent yourself and what you do for every show. So nothing is the same. It doesn't get boring. That's the thing. Everything is still a challenge, and that keeps me excited.
Yeah, that's the nice emotional answer. The other answer is basically, what else? I've spent my entire life teaching myself and growing into a certain direction. Is like climbing a ladder. So if I wanted to do anything else, which I actually don't, I love what I do, you'll have to start climbing a different ladder from the bottom again. And at some point you get to a point where that's just not an option in your life, and so you keep doing what you're doing, and you make the best of what you've started. That sounds like I'm saying I don't like what I love what I do. Yeah. And the ever-changingness of the game is the thing.
Yeah, exactly. I think 2020 taught us that we don't want to start over in anything else, and
That was the place to do it.
and I'm not sure how to do anything else. This is it.
I think both of you kind of take hands up with youngsters every now and then, and you often help youngsters kind of get into the industry. I'm sure there's a lot more youngsters that would want to get involved with you guys and learn from you. For those that can't kind of sit with you guys on a day-to-day basis, what would you say to them in terms of if they want to reach what you've done, and what encouragement would you give them?
Get involved with as much as you humanly possibly can do and can experience. Never think you know anything. Be willing to learn every day and be committed, because in today's time you can learn anything very easily on your own. So I mean, go and do the shows, go and experience things. Start at your church, start at your school. Kry alles wat jy nodig het daar, and motivation. If you have passion, and you have to have passion for this industry, otherwise it does not make sense. It's always remember we are creating art, and to have that passion and keep learning and keep that fire. It's more about any other. It's, for me personally, it's not necessarily skills. It's having the passion to pull off the scale of productions we do.
Yeah, obviously there's some part of talent or a bit of talent needed or involved, but it's a lot about the skill you learn along the way. And the funny thing about, I mean, you see podcasts and things all the time of people complaining about the new generation X or Z or where the hell we are now. And it's always the same thing. People want instant gratification. They want to start now, and in 6 months I want to be on top of my game. It doesn't work like that. It takes you 20 years. In fact, it doesn't, because we've passed the 20-year mark and we're still not nearly where I think I want to end up. So it's a journey. And you should, while you're young, the amazing thing I said to someone the other day is, you have YouTube, you have AI, you have ChatGPT, whatever. It's a question of going, hey, how does this work? And figure it out yourself. Don't ask people. Figure it out yourself, because then you remember it better. We didn't have that. It's ons klink soos ou ooms. But you know, for me, I literally couldn't go on internet well, you could probably, but I didn't even think of it.
Kind of really a lot of information.
99 or 2000 or whatever. So you had to kind of sit with something and figure it out, see what it does. That's the cool thing about technology. You should never be afraid of it. Figure it out, push it. You can't really blow anything up, I think. You can, but
that's like I say.
Play with it. Playing.
I used to have to sit with the manual of a console and read it, and you know, there was no easy way of quickly. How do you record a scene, this or that? And I think the exactly what Murray now said as well. Like, I come back to saying that it took me 15 years to go, cool, I'm a designer. There is no easy way, and you know, it's going to take me 2 years and I'm going to be this or that.
We thought so.
Yeah, but don't think so. Learn. For me, it was very important in the industry is to do everything, every job in the industry, for two reasons. I wanted to know what I want to specialize in. So I did sound, I did lighting, I was on stage, I was off stage, I did stage management, I did direct, I produced my own show. to see what I want to do in the industry. One reason, and the second reason is that nobody can bullshit me because I know how to do your job now. But that gave me the ability now to, when I sit and design a show, know exactly what everybody's job is going to entail, how it can put together, if something is possible or not possible. Yeah.
I have an interesting philosophy that definitely wouldn't work for everyone. Oversell is probably a strong word, but I'll use it. I always oversell myself and say to a client or to whoever I work with, yes, obviously I can do it and I'll sort it out. But never oversell yourself and then just think, okay, everything will fall into place. I've oversold myself many times, and then I would spend a week through the night and figure it out so that I keep my promise. It's important that if you say, and that's the thing, that's me pushing myself. If I say to a client, hey, that's fine, we can do it, then you do it. And you do it better than you actually thought you could. Even though you thought, or you knew you couldn't, you do it.
I think often we learn out of our own mistakes, and sometimes we hide those mistakes, and we just, my dad always said, it's like a duck in the water. Nobody sees the bottom end of the water, but they just see the smooth sailing duck at the top. What do you, and if you'd be interested in sharing some of your biggest, I want to say, disasters that you've had or mistakes you've had on shows, and then the follow-up on that is, how did you recover from those?
We haven't made any mistakes in 20 years.
Okay, I'm done.
Yeah, I was only wrong once in my career. And was that time I thought I was wrong. There's been many things over the years for me. And it's fortunately always stuff you can easily recover from. On that this is many years ago, I had a show where, but there was not me, but there was the electrician that did the C-form plug made bad connections. And back then it was, I think we started to work together at that time yet. But I was alone, it was in Brits. And we just couldn't go on with the show. And I had to stand in front of the audience, speak to the headmaster and stand in front of the audience and said, we cannot continue the show. That was definitely the worst thing that ever happened in my career.
I remember at Innibos specifically, oh my word, there was 35,000 people in the audience. And for some reason, everything is timeline based. I use Logic Pro for playback, and this band has sub-mixes and stems or whatever, and then there's a backtrack artist only with a stereo track, and then the next one or whatever. And there was one song with a guy performing on stage with only a backtrack. And I skipped to it and I pressed play. And for some reason in my mind, I thought, okay, but while he's performing, I'm going to line up the next track so long. And I went stop and skipped to the next track. Not realizing why everything stopped and what's going on. And it took me a few seconds to figure out, oh shit, okay.
That was me.
I think that's one of the moments I can now remember. There's obviously a lot of them. Shame.
No,
but own up. I told the whoever, hey, it was me, and I'll never do it again, I promise.
I just go, if there's an accidental blackout or something moves, then it's a creative choice.
The thing he's learned is to switch his blackout button off completely.
When I do shows of Murray, yes.
Yes, I'm always on his right, and that's next to the blackout button, and it's my favorite button to push on his desk.
Let me walk over to his console, then it's...
Johan, Murray, I think thank you so much for the time this morning. I don't know if you've anything else you want to add or anything else you want to share, but I think we've actually gone through quite a couple of very interesting topics. And thank you for your time.
Lekker, het is 'n plesier. Dankie.